I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume. So I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So in our last video, we read Matthew chapter 2, the visit of the wise men and the flight of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus down into Egypt. And of course, during this time, most of the Nephites have been converted. There's a little contention over some points of doctrine, but nothing serious. Now, our last reading was Matthew chapter 2, and now what we're going to do is read the Joseph Smith translation of Matthew chapter 2. It's got some extensive alterations and extensive corrections. So there's only about 2 or 3 verses that have not been corrected by Joseph Smith. So what we are going to do is I'm going to read the entire chapter. I don't think we will pause unless there is something vital that needs to be said, but let us begin in verse 1. Now verse 1 doesn't actually have any alterations, but that's where we're going to begin anyways. Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is the child that has born the Messiah of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard of the child, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them, saying, Where is the place that is written of by the prophets, in which Christ should be born? For he greatly feared, yet he believed not the prophets. And they said unto him, It is written by the prophets that he should be born in Bethlehem of Judea. For thus have they said, The word of the Lord came unto us, saying, O thou Bethlehem, which layeth in the land of Judea, in thee shall be born a prince, which art not the least among the princes of Judea. For out of thee shall come the Messiah, who shall save my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had called the wise men privily, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found the child, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they had saw in the east went before them, until it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a vision, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and tarry thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And then he arose, and took the young child and the child's mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt have I called my son. And Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, In Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for the loss of her children, and would not be comforted, because they were not. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a vision to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead who sought the young child's life. And he arose, and took the young child and the child's mother, and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the stead of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. But notwithstanding, being warned of God in a vision, he went into the eastern parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, He shall be called a Nazarene. And it came to pass that Jesus grew up with his brethren, and waxed strong, and waited upon the Lord for the time of his ministry to come. And he served under his father, and he spake not as other men, neither could he be taught, for he needed not that any man should teach him. And after many years, the hour of his ministry drew nigh. The two biggest changes here are in verse 4, where it talks about Herod feared greatly, yet he believed not the prophets. But he's asking, he says, where does the prophet say he's going to be born? So he's not just asking, as in the King James, he's not just saying, where is he born? But he's saying, where did the prophets say he was going to be born? But the biggest change, now, there's a lot of other things here that are, minor changes in grammar and stuff, as is common. Now, the prophecy of Micah is given a little bit more completely here, where it's not just Bethlehem is not the least among them. So it's not saying that Bethlehem isn't the least, but that there will be a prince who is not the least among Judah. So this is actually prophesying. It's more directly prophesying of Christ. But the biggest change is actually at the end. Joseph Smith adds in 2 verses there where he talks about Christ growing up. And the two things that nobody could teach him. He had the Spirit of the Lord to teach him, but he served under his father. In other words, he was a good son to Joseph. He grew up with his brethren, meaning, this is the first statement where he had brothers and sisters, but he was a good son to Joseph. He followed him. He did what he was supposed to do. He learned to be a carpenter just like Joseph was. He knew that his father was actually God, but he also understood that Joseph was his earthly father, even if only by adoption, and he was a good son to him. And he waited until the time was right for his ministry. I like that addition. We're going to end that here. I am going to go back to 3rd Nephi now. We will do some more reading in Luke shortly, but 3rd Nephi is first, so I will see you there.